Well, good morning, everybody. This is April 12th, our multimedia group from the Green Valley Camera Club. And we're here to chat and share. I guess that's the best we can do. So good to see all of you. And so anybody have anything to share today?
Yes, I have one thing.
Yay!
Hey!
Just a word. I had a friend that was out at Oregon National Monument, and there are lots of flowers out there blooming. Of course, for a day trip, that's pretty long because it's a couple hours out and a couple hours back home. But if you're so inclined, there's supposed to be a lot of flowers blooming right now.
Nice.
Okay, lots of flowers at the Oregon. At first I thought you said Oregon.
That is if you're in the Tucson area.
Right, yeah.
For the camping type, they've got a very nice campground out there.
Yeah, I was just out there a few weekends ago, and there are two campgrounds. One that has most of the facilities at, but there's a remote one that you come to before you get down to the one near Lukeville or the reception center. That's a primitive one that only has, I think, 4 or 5 campsites to it. But it's really nice because it's kind of tucked up into this valley, and there's a nice trail that you can follow up into the valley to see the rocks, the flowers, the things that are blooming. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course, yes.
This is my first time Zooming, so I have
really?
Yes, I'm learning.
Here we go.
It's nice to
Congratulations for learning. Yeah.
have you in the group again.
Pardon me?
It's nice to have you in the group and see you again, Todd.
Yes, you too, Barb.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, for here it's the tulips. In a couple of weeks, it's going to be all the rhododendrons and the azaleas and all of that. So I will definitely get someplace to shoot that kind of stuff. Yeah. So go
I
ahead.
did have a note from Phil Rock this morning, and he's going to be at the club 3 days, and I will attend some of that to get the computers all updated and running. So I think we're anticipating maybe being able to open fairly soon. So we'll see what happens.
That would be great.
I have a question then. Once the club is opened, what's that going to do with the Zoom meetings? And is it just going to go back to normal where we won't be doing Zoom again, or has that been discussed?
Well, I don't really know, but to me, the Zoom meetings almost should continue from the standpoint of the spacing problem, where people still want to be, apart from one another. So I don't know. You have to talk to probably Gene or Phil to see what's going to go on.
Mhm.
I wonder if we would have the capability to be able to do, in our classroom at the club, that you'd be able to still do Zoom. You could have people that could come if people are here in Green Valley, and then those that are places far, far away can still watch everything on Zoom and participate. That would be a interesting thing to try to find out.
That'd be great if that would work, since I'm not in Green Valley except for the winter months. So it's been nice to have a full year with the group.
Hurry back, Barb.
And for me too. Yeah, because I'm not there and won't be, at least hoping for the fall. Yeah, but anyway.
That should be doable. There's no technical reason why we couldn't have in-person combined with Zoom. Just takes an extra camera.
And
Yeah, somebody should be able to set that up.
And it would be nice to have a class, maybe not every week, but even every other week or something over the summer, you know.
Aren't we planning on continuing on like we did?
We did last summer. We had meetings every week and it was great. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
if people are able to make it, great. If they can't make it, you know, that's okay too.
Mhm.
So, you know, doctor appointment or vacation or whatever comes up.
Well, I more meant if the club opens.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Can you see each other? Sorry about that.
yes, yes. I know you can run 2 cameras and switch and show different cameras. We haven't tested that out in our group, but I know that it can happen. Those guys on tutorials on YouTube do it all the time.
They make everything look easy.
They do. They do. Well, and like for teaching like Linda does and so forth. Well, she's doing it on Zoom now, but if you're using one of the big TVs, you could set a camera to point to that and one to point to the presenter and so forth. Actually, you can find YouTube tutorials on how to set that up, I think. Yeah.
Well, since this is a multimedia group, surely somebody can figure that out.
Right, right.
I don't know, Barb. I think we're still trying to figure out our own equipment.
Well, I am, yes.
Yeah, right, right. Well, you mentioned the tulip field, so I'll just give you my little discover. I was shooting with my iPhone on up my gimbal, and for some reason, it just doesn't like to sit in their level. I don't know why. It might be better if I took it out of the case. But anyway, so I looked at one of the videos and I said to myself, the new editing features on the iPhone allow you to straighten things and allow you to do all of the same editing that you can on video that you can do on photos. So I went in there and straightened it, the horizon on it. Then I wanted to know, does that hold when I export that video out? And so I sent it to my computer and it held. So it held that edit. That was good for me to know. Anyway, that's my little tip. So anyway, well, let's see. Barb, did you say you have something?
No, I think Ron said he does.
Ron does and Kevin does. Okay, which one of you want to go first?
Let Ron go first.
No,
Ron, go first.
I don't have anything.
Oh, no.
No,
Oh, you had the tip about the
right, about
Oregon National
Oregon.
Park. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I was
It's
all
all-
excited.
it's all yours, Kevin.
Oh, jeez. Well, okay.
All right.
I was
Kevin,
hoping.
oh, wait, I gotta allow you to share.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well, out of my archives, I pulled a couple of 30-second commercials that I shot back in Central Illinois. And these are some of the first things I did probably about 6 years ago. The first one, they're only 30 seconds, so I'll show them each one twice, just so you kind of see it, because it goes pretty quick. The first one was for this community college that's south of Central or Peoria in Canton, Illinois. And it's a community college, so it's a two-year college. And so with this commercial, what they wanted to try to do was try to get adults involved, saying, hey, you can go back to school. You don't have to be an 18-year-old that's coming here for a 2-year degree or going to go on to a university. So anyway, we put together a commercial for them, and I'll show you that one first. So let's see what we got here. All right, here we go.
What's stopping you from going back to school?
I wasn't sure how I would pay for college, but Spoon River College is affordable, and I got help with scholarships.
I worried about having time for my kids, but we did our homework together, and now I have a new career in nursing.
I wondered how I would do, but I graduated with a 3.7 GPA because I was determined to succeed.
Spoon River College offers daytime, evening, and online classes that fit any schedule. You have the power to change your world, and it starts with Spoon River College.
Okay, I'll show it one more time real quick. Here we go.
What's stopping you from going back to school?
I wasn't sure how I would pay for college, but Spoon River College is affordable, and I got help with scholarships.
I worried about having time for my kids, but we did our homework together, and now I have a new career in nursing.
I wondered how I would do, but I graduated with a 3.7 GPA because I was determined to succeed.
Spoon River College offers daytime, evening, and online classes that fit any schedule. You have the power to change your world, and it starts with Spoon River College.
Okay, there we go.
Kevin, did you use artificial lighting on that?
There was no lighting on that. So basically everything was natural light, and which worked out great in terms of, that's part of the thing in some of these shots where you're trying to make sure that indeed there is good light and you're almost picking a location based on that. So trying to work within that frame, and then also maybe going in with, as you're looking at a shot and saying, okay, I still want to have this as whatever is the background, and then I want to come back with and make sure the lighting in that area looks good. So you're trying to work all those parameters. So especially the indoor stuff, and then the outdoor stuff was easy just because it shot them in the trees, in the shade of the trees and stuff. So that made it work out a lot better.
What about the audio? Did you just use the audio on your camera, or did you have them mic'd in?
No, they were all mic'd in. For the indoor stuff, there is a shotgun mic. We've kind of talked about this before a little bit. You haven't been here for that, but basically in that shot, if I go back and show you, and I'll show you, the microphone, I drop the microphone in just above the person's head, and then we pull it out of frame, so it's just out of frame. So if I go back, I'll show you that. Hang on. So in the case of like this, she's indoors, so that microphone is literally just a ½ inch outside of the frame. And then for this guy, we used a lavalier mic. And so we taped it to the inside of his nurse's smock or scrubs, whatever you want to call it. So you really can't see it.
Right.
And then for her, same thing. We basically have just brought that microphone in from the top, and that's what gives you that really nice sound. So literally the microphone is, from the person's mouth is probably a foot at most. So if you don't have a lot of background noise, that really makes things a lot easier.
And I noticed that you were consistent in your depth of field. Everybody was sharp, and so that they were standing in front of something that was way back there, so that it was all blurry and consistently so.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I call that the blowout effect. We do that with the photography, and then for the video, and it just kind of gives that nice feel because, as I've talked about before, your eye is always drawn to the sharpest thing in that shot, and also the lightest thing. So by having somebody be super sharp and then have some depth, I think that's also part of the shot planning, is saying, okay, this is a good spot for the person. I like what's going on in the background. And if I'm shooting wide open or fairly wide open with my lens, that really bombs out that background, blows it out, and really makes it very interesting.
I liked how you off-centered who was speaking too in those videos, in addition to the depth of field being used. But I thought it was effective to have them to the right or left.
Yeah, thanks, Barb. I mean, that to me, that's also part of it as well, is that in photography, we talk about the rule of thirds with framing, and you've got, thirds. So you, in essence, have 9 boxes of area, so to speak. And so you say, okay, I'm gonna put them on one side or the other of the frame. The other goodie that it also allows as a possibility is if you wanted to run some text on, with the person, some sort of a text or goodie or whatever, you allow yourself room. So I always think of it as, I don't want to be centered to the camera and just always shoot the person looking straight at me center. I would like them to be over a little bit one way or the other. And I think that really makes for an effective shot.
Yes, it did.
And
Your, excuse me, your wireless or your lavalier is wireless, is that right?
Yes, sir, it sure is. It works out very nicely. Sennheiser is the company that makes the wireless that I use. And so you've got a microphone and it goes to a little transmitter pack that we'll put in the person's pocket. And then on the camera, there's a receiving device that plugs into the camera. And so that's why you're getting that really nice sound.
Right. And I noticed that all of your people were looking to the side. They were not looking in the camera. Most of them, right?
No, I think they all were. Let me
Really?
share it again. I have to. It's funny. I have to look and see. I can't even remember, but I think they were all. Yeah, she's looking at the camera.
Okay.
He's looking at the camera, and she's looking at the camera. So, I think just because of the framing.
That must have been it. Okay.
Yeah. The other little trick there that I'm doing is I'm not zooming manually. I'm shooting a static shot, and then in post in the video editing software, I'm adding that zoom or that motion to the image. And what I find is, especially when you're shooting people that are not used to being on camera, if you start screwing around trying to do stuff where you're zooming or moving the camera, invariably you're going to screw up and they're going to have a good take. So you're better off just to shoot them static and then in editing, add that motion.
Okay.
So there you go. So that's one. I'll show you one other one. And then we're SOL when it comes to anything else today.
Well, I might have something.
Oh, good. Oh, you got something to share?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right. Well, this second commercial was for, there's this, I'm sure you've seen them around. It's like a motorcycle. It's a two-seater. It's called the Slingshot. And it's a three-wheeled goodie. You can sit in it. It's almost like a dune buggy kind of, and it's got a rear wheel. I can't say that word. Anyway, this was in the dead of winter in Peoria, and I get this call. The guy has to put something together right away. And so I said, okay, fine. Well, we can't take these things out because there's snow and ice on the road, and that's not going to work. So I was going to have to go over to the dealership and shoot. And so the other goodie I said is, well, can you get me some B-roll from the manufacturer of some of these vehicles going down the road so I can incorporate some of that in this commercial? And of course he couldn't. So basically it was all on me to come up with something. So this is what I came up with. And I'll do the same thing. I'll show this twice. This one is really quick. It's rock and roll. It's high energy. So don't be afraid. All right, I'll show that one more time. Okay. There you go.
That was great. I liked how you used 3 real quick slingshot photos at the beginning, so we kind of knew what it, I guess that's the name of that particular machine or something.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Polaris maybe. But I like that. So that kind of told us what the video was going to be about, but a lot of fast movement and very creative, I thought.
Thanks. I mean, that's just one of those where I think going into it, you're a little concerned about what am I going to do? I'm going inside this building. I can't, we can't take these things out at all. There's no motion. What am I going to do to give it some energy? And so basically it was get the shots and then come back and then in editing start to play with it, and then just real quick cuts, adding some special effects to some of the stuff and go from there. So
what did you do? There was one shot, I can't remember if it's the side mirror or something, where it's shown like 3 times at different, close up or further back. Sure. And then closer. How did you do that? And what kind of seconds are we talking about to accomplish that?
There is, that's all editing and not by me, but there are some effects that are in Final Cut Pro that I can use. And so the thing that's kind of fun is there's one that's called like intro flashes, it's called. And basically it takes, if let's say that you have a static shot like that shot of the mirror, well, it will give a couple of seconds of that. It adds kind of a little neon-y thing, and then it zooms in just to a section. Now I can't control where it zooms in.
Wow.
And then it maybe zooms quickly to another section of that shot and then pulls back out. Let me go back and I'll just show you real quick. I'll turn the music down just so we don't get blasted. Let's see if I can find like that. This right here, that's all an effect. It just adds this kind of neon-y glow to it. You saw that. This was really just the thing that was cool was when they turn on the ignition, the speedometers and the tachometer all light up. And so that was just the thing itself. And then I just zoomed in. This is that kind of same effect. So the shot is a wide shot like this, but with that intro, it goes real fast.
Mm-hmm.
It adds that kind of neon-y glow to it and then zoom back out. Same thing here with the mirror. You see, it gives it that kind of edge. So, I mean, really for something, that's something that you necessarily wouldn't do. Same thing here. You necessarily wouldn't use that, for transitions and stuff, because it's pretty, rock and roll, for want of a better term. I mean, it's pretty intense. So I think like anything else, you just pick a transition or an effect and maybe not go too over the top. I normally would never do like as this was that high energy and with a lot of these special effects, I would never do that. But in a short 30-second commercial, you've got to do something to get people interested. So
it's effective.
Yeah. Sorry. I had to take a phone call, but what I wanted to see was the whole machine.
Sure.
And I don't think you had a shot of the whole machine.
We did, but it's not like you're sitting there saying, okay, I'm going to do just a wide shot of the dealership and show all these machines lined up.
No, I just wanted to see all of one. So I could.
Well, here.
And I think there might have been a little flash of one.
Hang on. That overhead shot that I did. Hang on. Right there.
There we go. There we go.
So it's a 2-seater. So it's got kind of a fiberglass body. And you'll see them around here. I mean, everywhere. I've seen them a couple of times in Green Valley and pretty much everywhere.
Well, that's a two-seater side by side.
Yes, it is. But they
Okay.
classify it as a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So they don't have to have the whatever the crash or regulations that they have for a car. You know, you have to have certain bumpers and all that.
Yeah.
So it's considered a motorcycle. And that's how they get around that.
Yeah, I've seen three-wheelers, but the passenger would always be sitting behind the driver.
Yeah, Can-Am makes it's like a snowmobile basically, and the person can sit behind, but this is a side-by-side, so they definitely look like they're a lot of fun.
But you didn't get to go riding because there was snowy, huh?
Yeah, the dead of winter in Illinois was not conducive to doing anything outside, which really is just the way it goes. And so you just have to make do however the best you can.
You know, the way you have that put together too, it would be very easy to add some narration during that presentation from the dealer.
Yeah.
Wanted to make some comments about their product or their services.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice job.
Well, thanks. Well, the other goodie too is I think you'd have to really be careful with that music, because that music might be so, even though you would drop the level when the person would be talking, I think it would really fight with what was going on. Probably if they had said they wanted to do some sort of voiceover like that, I think I would have picked another kind of music that maybe wouldn't have been as aggressive as that.
Well, but it would be in keeping with a lot of the commercials where you see them yelling at the screen, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or that could be preceded or either before or after that clip with static with somebody talking to try to sell their product.
Sure.
It could be combined with another piece. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. There was some talk at some point if they were going to do some narration or voiceover for some of this and they decided they didn't want to do it. But I think you could go in, and they never did do anything else with it in terms of running a commercial, maybe had it up on their website. But yeah, you could have done a nice little, that's something I think you could have come back and done later where you said, okay, you're going to maybe have this little intro bit, 10, 15 seconds, person comes on screen, talks a little bit about stuff. While they're talking, you can run some B-roll, some action footage that you would get from the manufacturer and be able to incorporate that. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to do, and it was well received by the clients. So I was super happy about that. I think considering the time of year that we were having to do this, they were happy that indeed we were able to get something that got some buzz and generated interest in the store. So there you go.
Right. Well, thank you, Kevin. You sure you don't have something more in your pocket?
Well, I've always got more, but I don't want this to be the Kevin show.
We always learn something from you, though.
Well, Brian, come on. Brian, Susan, you got anything you can share? Or Gary said he had something. Gary had something he was going to share.
Yeah, I guess I can. I have a work in progress, and I was hoping to get it completely done before I actually show it to people. But it's kind of an exercise that I've taken on, more of a challenge to really kind of see what iMovie can do beyond the basic stuff that I think most people work with. I think most of you that know me, I've moved to DaVinci Resolve for my main things, and also HIT film for some types of compositing. But for something simple, I wanted to see if iMovie was a good tool to work with. So I decided to make this piece. It kind of falls in between what I call a stinger and a trailer. I guess it's just an intro that I put together for my studio. It's mostly animation right now. I don't have any sound with it yet. I'm working on creating a sound bed, writing some music for it. but I thought I could show it and maybe get some feedback from everybody, at least from the visual standpoint, see how it goes.
That'd be great.
Okay. So do you need to share my screen, Grace?
I've set it so you can share it.
Okay. See how this goes on here. Okay, that's it.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing or just quickly, the one thing I was thinking, Gary, I liked your background that you're using where the stuff is coming towards you, which is great. What do you think about, I'd love to see there be because the instruments and the camera and the goodies are also coming in that same direction. What if you had one going one way and one the other? So meaning that you would reverse, let's say, the background clip so that is coming away from the viewer and then your items are coming towards the viewer. What do you think about that idea?
Okay.
Just
So
as,
in other words, though, flying in, it would be a fly out.
yeah, well, and just in terms of there being one's going one direction, one's going the other direction. So it's kind of creating that contrast. To me, the only thing that I love that the stuff is coming towards me, but you've got the background going at one speed and then the items are flying in faster, which is fine. But I wonder if you can do a reverse clip and say, okay, take the background, flip it, let it go away, and then my items are going to come towards me.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Yeah, try that. Thank you.
Gary, you said you were using iMovie. And how did you create that effect that Kevin's talking about in iMovie?
Well, most of the animation is all done with Keynote.
Oh.
Using Magic Move and some of the features that are available in Keynote. And then each of those sections were created as a separate key item and then created as a movie with transparent background and then brought into iMovie.
Oh boy. Sounds a little
That's
complicated.
more stuff than I knew was available in Keynote. Wow.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah, and each of the individual pieces, like the keyboard and the guitar and all those, I also did some treatments to them in Photoshop first before bringing them into Keynote.
And then you have a transparent background on those the keyboard and guitar and stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Right, correct.
In Keynote.
In
And then
Keynote.
you layer it in iMovie, you stack it in iMovie.
Each one is a separate movie. So like the camera, the reel, the guitar, those are all separate individual movies that are stacked on the main part above on one. You know, you can only have 2 levels in iMovie. That's one of the restrictions.
One of the clips of the objects coming in sort of sat there for like a microsecond before it started moving. And it sort of just jumped that 1 second, like maybe you need to move that frame over just, like I say, a half a second.
Yeah, it is at half a second delay before it starts to move. I could take the delay down to 0.
You might look at that. That was just something I noticed.
Can you show that again?
Yeah.
Is there a delay at the end when the music comes in, the keyboard comes in? Was there a delay where we got to see that a little longer or just still?
I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, it took me, I think, a bit for me to realize what was going on. And I saw a camera and that went by fast. And then I began to key in on these pieces that came in. But I think maybe if they had been a little slower, I would have grasped them a little faster, maybe.
Well, yeah, I could do them slower, but I also didn't want to have this piece take a lot of time.
Yeah,
I was already in the 40-second realm, which was probably 10 seconds longer than I targeted initially.
Right.
But yeah, let me play it again.
Yeah, I would like to see it again too. Hmm.
Got a couple of things. When we're done, answer the question, what are you using this for? That when the little items that appear and zoom towards you, towards the end, as they're zooming, they fade out, but they abruptly appear in the middle of the screen from nothing. Could you maybe fade them in there so it's not so pink, there's a keyboard, and then it nicely fades out and goes away?
Sure.
And the other thing is, we don't need to tell you that you did a good job with this, but for those that are looking at getting into this kind of thing, the selection of font was terrific. It checked all the blocks, even weight and sans serif, everything was there. Very readable, very clean, and that's what we aim for in our stuff. So what's this for?
Well, as I said, it was really more of an exercise and a challenge for me to see what are the real limits with iMovie. Just because I used Keynote for the animation, that was a big part of it. Obviously, even all the title screens were done in Keynote, because those of you that use iMovie know that a lot of the titling is pretty limited as well. You're kind of locked into what they present. So if you want something beyond that, you really have to go outside of iMovie, do the creation, and then bring it in. How it's going to be used in the future, I'm not sure. I have another idea that I'm going to be using more video clips of the studio. That'll be a longer kind of, I guess, more of a trailer type introduction to the studio, but this was just really more of a challenge for me to see what the capabilities were.
Okay.
I was remembering when Kevin was talking about having the background recede from you and the objects come to you, that there's a song, it must have been some musician's video song, and it was in a tunnel, like cars would drive down, and it made it so that it looked like he was walking down the tunnel, and the tunnel was receding. So it was the constant, he was there and walking, but the background was moving away from him constantly. That was what it reminded me of when Kevin mentioned having the background go away and the object come forward.
The segment that had the camera, Gary, and you zoomed up close. For some reason, that caught my eye as being coming up almost too close, and I think it's because I was comparing it to the other things that you were using. The keyboard, you still saw background. On the guitar, you still saw background. And can you just show that segment again with the camera that you zoom in, where it takes almost the whole screen?
Okay, let's see.
Because for some reason it appeared a little differently than the others.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than the others.
Yeah. Yeah, I can probably start to fade that out sooner.
Sooner maybe, and keeping the whole camera still. And then show your other, yeah, stop it before that.
Yeah, the others start to fade out sooner.
Sooner, yes. And I noticed there was a difference on that particular item that you're zooming in on.
Right, yeah.
I think the other thing that happens too, Barb, is that because it's such a solid, all these other items are smaller, thinner, like the keyboard or the guitar or the microphone. So you still see a lot of the background, but as that camera gets bigger, it kind of blocks everything else. And I think your idea of maybe, or Gary's idea too, of fading that out a little bit at the end would really help. But I did like Brian's idea of there being a fade in on all those items, because it just kind of softened what was going on. But all in all, I think you did a great job with that. That's really well done. And knowing the limits of Imovie, that you can't do as much as your brain thinks, that's damn good.
That was.
Well, thank you.
You will show it later as you progress, won't you?
Oh, yes. Once I get the music completed and everything, get it all put together. You know, as we know, that sound is such a huge part of film. So I think it'll be hopefully a much better piece than just the silent part.
I have a question for you, Gary. On your background, you talk about studio and all, and I think you've been in the multimedia business and maybe still are. Can you tell us a little about your company then and what you do?
Well, I'm really not doing much client work anymore. I've kind of retired. In fact, when I stopped teaching at the camera club, I did that primarily so I'd have more time for myself, my own projects, and also time for my wife and I to do things. But I was a co-founder of a multimedia company in California in the Bay Area. We started in 1994. There were two other people and myself. The other two were from Apple. And we had an idea for a company to fill a gap that we thought was lacking in the industry. So we started set up shop in a small apartment in San Jose. And when we got to the point of setting up servers and running cables down hallways in the bathrooms, et cetera, we figured it's time to seek, bigger digs. So we leased some property over in Half Moon Bay, and that's where our company really started up. And it was a fun time. I think during my career, it was probably one of the most fun. We did some major presentations for companies like Bose Corporation, Altec Lansing. Mostly it has a center in sound production and distribution. And the companies would use our presentations at like Comdex and CES that are held in Las Vegas every year. So it was a lot of fun. And then around 4 years after we got started, we had a little split in the company, and the founders wanted to take the company in one direction, and two of us, the other founders, wanted to go in another direction, and we wound up splitting up. And unfortunately, after that, the company went belly up after about 6 months.
Wow.
But it was a fun time while we had it going.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is the first piece I've ever seen you show, I think, in the SIG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it might be. I had really kind of drifted away from multimedia for a while and really concentrated on photography. Now it seems like I've swung back the other way. I'm doing very little still work right now.
Coincidentally, you drifted away after your tenure as leading the Multimedia SIG for a while. Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was a picture.
No, that was really impressive, Gary. And
That was, yeah.
that makes me want to look into more features of Keynote.
Keynote challenge.
Yeah.
Are you able to show, well, not everybody has Apple though, so that doesn't make sense to show some of those techniques in the class, but.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if PowerPoint has the same capabilities that the Keynote has. I've done very little presentation work with PowerPoint. So,
Well, yeah.
but maybe some of the other animation software that has the capability of doing creative compositing and then exporting to a movie of some type that could then be put into iMovie might work. But I'd be happy to show the technique at some point, how Keynote works in terms of animation.
I think that would be great because as with other things, if you see what one piece of software will do, then it sends you to the one that you have that's a kind of an equal to see how you could figure out to do the same thing on what you have. So I think that would be great.
Do some of the other software programs out there that some of you use have that capability? And that Gary was only using it because he has Apple products and iMovie, and it didn't have that capability just in the iMovie app. And so he had to branch out, and Keynote is in Apple. So is that true with some of your other programs, those of you that use the PC, that, or are they contained in a DaVinci, or I don't use anything else, so I don't know what else out there, but I hear you talk about other programs.
I'm pretty sure that we could duplicate that in DaVinci Resolve. It would take a while.
I would think so too. And maybe Blender also has that capability. I know there's some compositing features. I haven't worked much with Blender, but I do use PCs as well. So I could maybe try some examples. I could try out PowerPoint and see if some of those features are available there, and maybe with Blender on the PC, and then have, both worlds.
That'd be good.
That could be very interesting, or it could be a big pain in the butt, Gary.
Right, exactly.
How much time do you want to spend, huh?
You might get in about 15 minutes into working on that and go, forget it. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, and I've been there, other things that way. It's sometimes, I don't know, I find the Apple is just being more intuitive in a lot of ways than the PC.
Well, but we're kind of indoctrinated from a long time ago, huh?
Grace, before you close, we've got one thing to offer.
Okay, good.
In about a month, we're planning a photo expedition to a let's just say remote. I'm going to share a screen here real quick. Everybody see the Google Earth there?
Nope, you got to
No.
share the screen.
No.
Oh, right, share. Wait, optimize, share sound, share. Okay, you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, to orient you, this is Page, Arizona, and there's Lake Powell. This is the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument and Wilderness Area. We are going to a remote part of that. We'll be there 3 or 4 days. If you want to go, you'll need 4-wheel drive, high ground clearance, and you'll have to be self-sufficient for food, water, sleeping, and bathroom. But this is not a camera club field trip. This is a personal invite to join us out there if you have the wherewithal and the inclination.
When are you going?
In about a month.
So give me that again so I can write it down.
In about a month.
Yeah.
We're going on a 4 to 5 day photo expedition to a remote area of the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument.
Vermilion.
Yeah, it's that's Vermilion.
Okay. Vermilion Cliffs.
Yes.
In Grand Canyon.
It's
South of the Grand Canyon?
north.
North.
It's actually northeast of the Grand Canyon.
Kind of west of Page, Arizona.
Yes, west of Page.
Is it northwest?
Let me share it again. So, and
Southwest of
add a
Page.
little more. Okay. Here's
Oh, I
Marble Canyon. Here's the Grand Canyon down here.
Okay.
Okay, Kanab is up here. Page is there.
St. George.
Here's Link Powell. St. George is out that way. It's this high plateau here.
So it's west of Page, basically.
Yes, west of Page.
One of the interesting things about that area is that's where the condor release program is. So several times that I've been there, I've been able to see condors flying above or yes, they're huge. They're
Yeah.
huge.
That
And nesting on the cliffs there.
Yeah, that release area is at the southern edge of that plateau that we're talking about.
Yes.
We're not going to be going down that way. The roads get worse.
So do you enter in, are you coming in off of 89 up on top or alternate 89?
Talk offline.
Probably we'll talk offline to anybody that's really interested in going. There's a road that connects those two that you're talking about. It's House Canyon or House Rock Road.
House Rock Road, yes.
And it's very well maintained and graded. It's a 65, 70 mile an hour dirt road, but we leave that road. It gets worse.
This is going on YouTube. We're not putting out details.
Yeah, if you're really interested, drop us an email and we'll discuss further.
All right.
Because this is on YouTube and we don't want to give out what days are gone and.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, sounds like a good personal invitation, folks, for the Camera Club group outing. How's that?
And if you don't shoot a picture, you're still welcome to go.
Yeah. It is a unique area that we're going to.
Okay. Well, anybody else have anything to share or comment on?
Quick goodie, this weekend in Tombstone on Saturday is Shefflin Days. That's the event where it's the founder of Tombstone. And there's going to be bull riding. They've got stuff in the streets, different events. They've got the donkey races and all kinds of good stuff. If you're looking for an opportunity to go shoot some still photography or videos, I'll be over there shooting video on Saturday. And that's a lot of fun. There's a lot to see and lots to do. So that'll be great. And then next week, apparently I will be doing a little demo on Final Cut Pro. So for those that are thinking about that or wanting to also, maybe some of the things would incorporate into iMovie. So anyway, hopefully people will have stuff to share and my presentation will be brief. Otherwise, you're going to have to listen to me for a while, and maybe that's not such a good thing.
So Sheffland, is that Sheffland?
That's pretty damn close to me.
Close enough, huh? Okay.
Off the top of my head, it sounds pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay.
So anyway, I did a video on it last fall, and shared it with the group. And so anyway, there's all poop scooping and pie eating, and it's just, there's a lot of stuff and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, if you're in the area and you want to go, it's all day, probably starts about 8, 9 o'clock on Saturday, and it'll run till about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Something like that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds like fun. Take a hat and lots of water.
Well, there's all kinds of stores, and there's establishments that serve adult beverages over there. So, you know, you can get a cold beer and whatever, but I would definitely have a hat and sunscreen, because as we all know, the sun will hammer you out here.
Right. Okay, well, and we will look forward to your demo of Final Cut Pro next week. And we won't scare everybody else off, but that will be interesting for some of us, more interesting than others. So anyway, anything else for the good of the order?
I have a question, and maybe you've covered this in one of the earlier Zoom meetings, but the conundrum I run into is storage of my data. And I'm looking at, I have several auxiliary, the 4 terabyte, a 5 terabyte, a couple 2 terabytes, but I'm just running into storage issues, and I haven't done any type of cloud storage. And so I've been doing some research on that, but I don't know if anyone has any ideas or suggestions of what I should be looking for.
Are you looking for long-term storage, or are you looking to be able to access it to your computer?
I think my thinking right now is long-term storage.
Just as a quick goodie, I do an A and a B drive. And so I'll have, right now you can buy Western Digital 8 terabyte externals for around, I want to say around 150, something like that. They're not insanely expensive. And I'll basically copy everything to both drives. So, because invariably a drive can crash, and then I just store that and have it, and then I can access it if I need something. And I found that system works really well for me.
And so then you just keep those drives at your home.
Yeah, I've got them at the home. The one other thing that I do, just as one other quick goodie, there's RAID systems. I've got a couple different kinds, but I also have Drobo, which is you can go like, they go from 4 disk up to, I think they've got 10 disk RAID systems.
Yes.
Long story short, I have my personal photos on a Drobo. It's probably a 20 terabyte. I have that at a neighbor's house. God forbid something happens to this house, those personal photos are safe over there. So if I go on a trip or something, I go get the Drobo, I bring it back home, bring the, load everything up, and then take it over to the neighbors.
Thank you.
One thing for you to consider, and we've been doing this for years, is periodically we have a hard drive where the stuff that we absolutely positively never want to lose, it's backed up onto that, and we keep it in a safe deposit box off-site. We've all seen and heard the story about the guy out at Elephant Head whose house burned down and he lost everything.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've been insulated from that for a long time. I'll cry a lot over the camera gear, but these we'll still have.
Is anybody familiar or using a cloud system called Backblaze?
We don't use cloud.
We don't use cloud.
Too much data.
Too much data, and what might be free today, they're going to start charging you for next week or next year, but they're going to.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that I keep seeing pop up when I'm doing some research on it. It's relatively, considering everything that's out there, inexpensive. It's only like $6 a month for all you want to store, but it's per computer.
That won't last. It'll get more expensive. And we've seen stories of cloud storage systems that lost a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's
fairly recent.
right. and that's a concern. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done any cloud type storage. But I'm right now. I'm currently I have a house finch nest that they built on my back porch that I'm filming every day.
Good.
And yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm using my GoPro. Actually, I mounted to the rafter, and so I'm only about a foot away from the nest. So it's kind of been fun. But on my laptop, I'm out of storage on it right now. So I've been working on downloading things or just discontinue, just deleting things altogether to be able to get the rest of it, because I'm only into day 5, and my research says that they generally are only in the nest from 9 to 11 days. So
I think just quickly, your other issue too, Todd, is if you would try the cloud, is uploading all that data. You start getting into a terabyte or even more. That's going to be days of uploading, absolute days of uploading. Long story short, but there was some service many years ago like this, and I thought, oh, this will be great. I signed up for it. I started uploading stuff, and literally, I want to say to upload the one computer, it was going to take over 2 months, and that was it. It started, and I thought, no, we're not even going to go down this road. So that's when I went to external, or like Brian and Susan, have drives, put them in a safe deposit box or with a neighbor. The storage is so cheap now. It's 8 terabytes for, let's say, $300 for 2 drives. To me, that's not very expensive.
no, that isn't. So Kevin, the one that you keep at your neighbors, do you have to physically get that and bring it to your house?
Yep. Yeah, but it would be the same like Brian and Susan. They go get the hard drive out of the storage or the safety deposit box, bring it home,
right?
Upload it, take it back.
Yeah.
And I've done that too. Made a copy of my backup and given it to the neighbor to keep. He didn't think he had it, but when he moved, he found it. Anyway, but yeah, that's what I've heard, is just make sure you get something off site.
Yeah, well, I'll have to work on something like that. I did get a 2 terabyte SSD, because we've been talking about that before the club closed, for storage and everything. And so I had organized all my still photos. I didn't even get to the videos, but I organized all them into people, places, and things. And so I started with the people to download, and kind of what Kevin was saying. What my surprise was, it was 19 hours to download it to this SSD, which I'm actually going to take those photos off there, because I'm just going to use that 2 terabyte when I travel. So I have something compact with me to load things onto all the time. But much to my amazement, it said that I had 243,000 images. And I was like, I probably got to go do some editing there and get rid of some of those things before I do it. So I didn't even get the places and things on that. And of course, it pretty much used up most of the 2 terabytes for the still images. But
2 terabytes isn't a lot nowadays, is it?
No. And especially doing video. Video is just sucking up a lot of memory.
Right.
So thank you all for your comments and input. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anybody else? We keep coming up with some new topics here. No? Well, we can close up today's session then. Thank you all for coming, and we will look forward to Kevin's Final Cut Pro next week. And Gary, do you want to kind of let us know when you want to do something with your animation and Keynote and so forth?
Sure, I'll do that. And thank you everyone for your feedback.
Thank you. Great job.
Great, yes, great job.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, somewhere I have a cursor.
Hey, Grace.
Yes.
While you're still on there, a question. So when someone is showing their video, how do I do that?
How do you show us a video? Is that
Right.
what you got? Okay. All right. So first of all, the host, that today is me, has to give permission for the participants to share. Okay.
Okay.
And I have done that. So down at the bottom of your screen, you will see a green button that says share video.
Share screen.
Share screen, I mean, share
Yes.
screen. Okay. Now, the thing that you need to do before you go there is in the background, go out to your desktop and have what it is that you want to share. Wait, let me stop the recording just for a second. Stop the